your calling's a gift that can either, we can value or devalue. Like we have a
Right.
choice in that we can value or devalue even the gift. It's a responsibility that we can either steward or squander, but it
Hmm.
is also an invitation, which you can accept
Yes.
or reject, you
Hmm.
know. And
Yeah.
so the way we describe it is that it means that God includes you. When we say your calling is also an invitation, it's that He includes you. And when when you think about you've been invited to a wedding or a birthday party, or a child's baptism or a person's baptism, whatever else, any invitation is always based on relationship.
Hmm.
And it means that your presence is requested, like, but it's not necessarily required, right?
Hmm.
And so the
Yeah.
event will go on with or without you.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about your calling and seeing it in that way too, that it's an invitation that you get a chance to participate in what God's up to, and He's inviting us, but He's not forcing us in that. And it really becomes this really beautiful invitation to, in some ways, co-create with Him and join
Hmm.
Him in what He's up to, and we get a part to play in that. And I like to think about that invitation is, we don't want to miss, I don't want to miss out on the adventure that God is bringing my way or our way, as we think about our calling, and really even seeing our calling. That invitation is an invitation into participation and cooperation with Him. And it's also an invitation into adventure with Him.
Yeah, as you're talking about that, I remember years ago I was studying for a sermon and I came across this idea in Jewish theology that they talk about as the theology of participation. I
Mm,
don't remember my source on this, so I don't know how to give credit to it, but I do remember the idea because it never left me.
mm,
And the theology of participation in Jewish theology basically said this. Um, God, it says this, God will not do what you can do. God will work in you and through you, but not instead of you.
yeah.
And I love the way that, as you continue to read on this, the
Mm,
way that this works with God's sovereignty, God's going to accomplish his purposes,
yeah.
but he will wait on his participants,
Mm,
meaning that the purposes of God happening in the world are not in jeopardy. However, God is incredibly patient and he will wait for someone who will join him in his work. He won't work instead of us. He'll work through us, he'll work in us, but not instead of us. And there's this sense that this is a great invitation. It's God's purposes are not in jeopardy whether we take it or not. But for the people that are in our lives, it
mm,
requires us to participate with him on that. And so, that Esther language of for such a time as this, God will send his deliverance through another person, but who knows that you
yeah.
have come to the throne for such a time as this. And
Mm,
so that I love the way that the theologian talked about that in Jewish theology. God will not work instead of you. He'll work in you and through you, but not instead of you. God's work, and the way I kind of coined the phrase based off of that is God's heart for a nation always runs through the heart of a person.
mm,
God's heart for your community always runs through the heart of a person, and he will wait until someone will respond to that invitation for his heart to be poured out in that way.